Parenting is hard. Few of us feel up to the task. The world is shifting, quickly and dramatically. All of us feel the changes affecting our families. The stress and pressure can be intense. We're here to help sort the good and the bad, provide insight, and bring hope. Welcome to Brilliantly Brave Parenting. We're so glad you stopped by.
Hi, and welcome to Brilliantly Brave Parenting. I am your co-host, Pastor Brad Mathias.
You are, and I'm Robert, and we're glad to be with you today, aren't we, Brad?
We're ecstatic to be with you.
Mm-hmm. You sound ecstatic.
Well, it's the cold medicine. I'm not used to allergies. They don't have those in Maine.
Yeah, it's pretty gnarly.
It is. Zyrtec
That's a
D.
fascinating thing to talk about.
Well, Zyrtec D is a miracle drug. That's all I can say.
Okay.
I woke up this morning, my sinuses felt like lead.
Yeah, it is that
What is
season.
going on?
I've
It's
had
year
it for about a
round
week.
now.
It feels like it.
Like it doesn't matter what time of year you're in Middle Tennessee, you get the joy of sinus pain. That's fun. That's like a promo.
Aren't you guys glad that you tuned in to hear about this? This is so enlightening.
Well, Robert, we have a lot going on. Season 7.
We do. Can you believe it? Season 7, 84 episodes.
Speaking of changes, I became a grandpa twice.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
I know you did. And I became a grandpa one time.
We both have granddaughters.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Have you ever felt that way before? I mean, really?
Ridiculous? Yes.
Well, no.
No, I've never felt what I feel about Lucy. I mean, it's crazy. Like there's this ache. I'm not with her. She's in Colorado, and so I wake up. I have her on my screen, so I see her every morning on my phone. And I'm like, I miss Lucy.
Yeah.
But it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, we just recently had our second grandchild, and it was a granddaughter, Mabry. And, having grandchildren is definitely putting some perspective to my thinking.
100%. Yes.
I mean, you're starting to, if you're like me, and I think in some ways you are, we definitely...
Careful.
You start thinking about legacies, right? You start thinking about what is it that I'm leaving behind.
Right.
It's not so much what do I accomplish or what is my goal in life, but really what is the legacy that will be
How am I leaving this place?
Yeah, exactly. I also turned 50. So
I know you did.
That's a moment. Yeah.
It is a moment.
Yeah, it's like, well, I'm past halfway.
I remember like 21 vividly.
Do you?
I do, actually.
So how does it feel to be 70, Robert?
It's remarkable.
Yeah.
I feel
You
good.
look great for
Thank
70.
you.
I mean, half the man you were. Is that the keto speedo diet or what?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Something like that.
Wow, you look great. Well, it's good to be back in the studio. I missed you.
Thank you, Brad.
I missed you a lot.
I don't say I miss you back. I miss you too.
Well, I mean, so for our audience, Robert and I used to be in Tennessee together. I'm now in Maine. I'm a church planting pastor with the Anglican church there. And Maine is really weird. It's totally different than Tennessee, but I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally good. But
I hear it's gorgeous. And if you are on Instagram, you need to check out Brad's. He posts all the time pictures from Maine that are just astounding.
And what's crazy is that those are just minutes from my door. Like I'm not going on some special trip to take those pictures. I might be going to the grocery store. I mean, it's that pretty everywhere. So it really is amazing.
The downside of it is it's really cold too.
Well, the downside is that there's snow on the ground for 9 months. But yeah, other than that, it's
Couldn't do that.
perfect.
I'm happy for you.
Well, one of the things about Maine and New England in general is that people can be a little down, a little bit cynical as a sort of culture. And so this year, or for this season of the podcast, I wanted to do some positive things, talk about positive moments. And so each episode of season 7, we're going to do our best to highlight a positive fact.
I love
or
that.
two.
Also, lay one on us.
I'm ready. So this is a very Maine-related thing. Puffins. Puffins are those cute little
They're
birds.
delicious.
Well, no, Robert. They're endangered. You don't eat
Oh,
puffins.
okay. Yes.
Puffins have the really cute little beak. They look like a sort of cute penguin, except they're only about...
Aren't they like that Christmas,
Yes.
a snowman?
Yeah, oh yeah. Claymation. There's claymation puffins, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, you may not know this, but puffins live on these islands in the North Atlantic, and you can take a boat out and see them and everything, but they live in the ground. And puffins mate for life. They live in the ground or on a cliffside.
Are they birds?
They're birds, but
Okay.
they're cute birds. Like, really cute.
Okay.
Like, you want to hug them. Like, they're that cute. Like a teddy bear bird.
So are turkeys. Turkeys are kind of cute.
Turkeys are not cute. They have a funny thing off their throat. So puffins create a separate room in their house for a toilet. Did you know that?
No, I didn't.
I didn't either. It's on the fact sheet here. And so what that tells me is that...
So wait a second. They live in the ground. They mate for life.
They mate for life.
And they have a bathroom in their house.
And they have a bathroom. And it tells me some of the secrets in nature for a good marriage and family home.
Keep your bathroom.
Keep your bathroom separate from everything else. Yeah. This is really important.
This is news to you.
It's good to know.
Yes, it is.
Good to know.
And that is actually fascinating.
It is fascinating. And today we have a very special guest.
I don't even understand that segue.
It wasn't. It was just a change of topic.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Bekah Pogue is one of the bubbly people, on the earth.
The bubbly people.
The bubbly people. My mom's a bubbly people.
That's true.
Effervescent is a good way I would describe that.
I can see that.
Yeah, effervescent. She claims to be a work in progress, and she's in the studio with us today. She's been married for over 15 years, and she has 2 boys. Welcome to the crazy times.
Thank you.
Hey, Bekah.
I welcome the crazy.
Well, it's good you're in good company because we're not right.
Oh, well,
Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, we've been, I've heard about you a lot, and I've been sort of reading through your website, which is at bekahpogue.com, and Pogue is spelled Pogue. And I was looking at some of the things that you had written on your website, and then we have your books here in the studio, so anyone on YouTube can take a look at these books. Robert and I will model them for the camera. This is Praying Your Way to Forgiveness, 200 Inspiring Prayers for a Woman's Heart.
And this is Choosing Real, an invitation to celebrate when life doesn't go as planned. I need to read this.
It's a devotional too, and yeah, Robert, you do need to read that. So I'm thinking, as I read through this, I actually did my homework.
I love that.
Yeah. You said a few things, and I'm incredibly curious.
Okay.
So if you don't mind indulging my questions.
Absolutely.
You said that you believe listening is healing.
Yes.
Tell me, what do you mean by that?
I just think we're a culture that we talk and we speak at one another so much. There's so much external noise these days that I think the most beautiful thing is to really quiet ourselves and start to listen to what's going on in our interior first, and then really do that hard work of listening to what God's saying, and then go to people last. So I think a lot of my heartbeat is to turn that speaking, that talking, that speaking, that listening upside down and lead with listening, because I think when people feel heard, that's when healing really begins.
I couldn't agree more. And it's difficult. It's difficult to do, especially when you feel passionate about things. And whether you're parenting or whether you're married, when there's a differing view, I know that I immediately jump into, well, you're obviously not seeing it correctly.
Right.
Instead of me trying to seek to understand, what someone's bringing to the table. And most recently, thinking about with my kids, where we think sometimes, I do, in parenting, it's like just instructional, and that is a part of parenting. Yeah. But a lot of times we lose the relational side of just really kind of getting to know who God has created our kids to be.
Absolutely.
We miss an opportunity there, right?
Absolutely. And to know who they are and the way that they work,
right.
And you're right. We miss it so much when it's like, let me just do the thing, and I said it, so you do it, but to really say, what's going on? What do you think, and what's going on in your heart?
So how do you successfully do that? Let's just take your marriage situation. You're at odds, or you're seeing something different. There's some is there a discipline that you employ?
We're never at odds. I don't
of course,
know.
not you. I'm saying someone else.
So you're asking for a friend?
Yes, asking for a friend.
Fair. Okay,
yeah.
fair. Well, it's funny. My husband and I think we've learned over 15 years that our new phrase is I just need you to sit in this with me for a little bit. Instead of going into fix it mode, which is both of our natural tendency. Yeah. To really just say we'll ask one another do you want me just to listen, or do you want feedback right now? And oftentimes I think that is the gateway to being heard.
Yeah. Because
it's so easy just to go into let me solve this, let me offer a solution. But sometimes we just need to verbally process and be heard, and then it naturally works itself out.
That's good.
I've also learned it's important how you say that. Do you want me to respond right now? Because I've almost gotten smacked a couple times.
I mean, that's fair.
If you say that really smart, do you want
me to respond?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, when you move your head like that, you're going to get smacked. I've been reading through this. You do a lot of things. I mean, it says here that you're an author, devotional writer, retreat leader. founder of the Pastor Experience, which is a retreat, as I understand it, a spiritual director in training, and a design consultant.
Yes.
You're doing all those things.
I do. I'm not a one-track soul.
No.
I really just love to use all the creativity that bounces around.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I really, as you were talking and the effervescent nature of your personality, I can see you doing all those things and really having fun and really inspiring and helping a lot of people. But I can sense there's a personal story behind the story. Like you're learning to listen and hear other people's stories, but I think you probably have your own.
Absolutely.
And one of the great joys of this podcast is sort of hearing the stories of our guests and trying to get a little bit of an idea of what makes you tick.
Yeah.
So you make a comment, and I saw it 3 times. You said, unclimbing the someone ladder. I think I know what that means, but I'd love to hear you share that.
And how you got to that
Yeah.
place of making that a priority.
Making that choice. So when I talk about the someone ladder, I feel like the someone is sort of a similarity to my ego. And so I grew up very much finding my value and my worth when I was performing. You know, when I was on stage, that's how I was finding. I think I did a lot of listening to people first. You know, who are you telling me I am? And then that's who I decide that I am. And so, you know, coming from the world of writing and that whole platform emphasis, I think it was probably right after I wrote Choosing Real that I realized that what came with it of building up my ego, of really highlighting the someone of who's Bekah when she's creating and on and doing, it just didn't feel congruent with my spirit. And so I just really started listening to that. Like, why am I resisting getting on and needing to talk about all the things I'm doing on social media and kind of highlighting me, someone, instead of God, the one who's doing the work in me? And I think that really led me to feeling like God was stirring me to kind of step away from the world where I'm on the stage and big, and really just trusting that God is going to do some of that interior work as I'm unclimbing that kind of.
Is there something that happened that triggered that journey of that shift? Or is it just something that evolved in you as you started uncovering these things?
I would say the biggest catalyst was what the reason I wrote the book was when my dad died suddenly. And that, I think, really stripped me from going from performance mode and needing to take care of everybody and be everybody for everyone to really surrendering and releasing and saying, like, I don't really have a lot to give, and then realizing the freedom that comes in just being.
Yeah.
So, and the more I've done that, I think that's where my heartbeat for listening and being still and being present and the smaller groups and the intimacy has come.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a journey, and I fight it on a daily basis because when it's quiet and slow, I want to climb back up my ego. You know, like when we moved to Tennessee from California, you know, we moved without jobs. It was a huge trust journey. And I found myself having coffee one day with somebody, and, you know, the first question is like, oh, so what are you doing? And I'm like, I don't really know. Like, I'm in this unclimbing journey. I'm really in this, like, I'm shedding all my ego. And I'm fighting it. And I found myself telling her, like, I used to be someone. And that is the pull of who am I when I'm being and when I'm still and I'm listening to God's voice, and who am I when I'm striving and I'm kind of climbing outside of myself.
Right.
So it's constant war.
I'm listening to that really attentively because I just moved to Maine without a job, and my wife and I are in a very similar spot, but we're really old. So
stop.
It's
totally
true.
different.
Stop.
Yeah, she's
How has
old.
that been for you?
A lot like you.
Yeah.
Yeah, because what I've learned is that I can take my faith with me in that ego journey.
Yes.
So it's not, it's suddenly okay to be egotistical about your accomplishments because it's for God.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's validated ego.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, okay, so God is dismantling not only my ego, but my spiritual fake ego, which is, you know, who are you? Well, I'm a pastor of this, or I'm the head of that, or I'm running the, you know, you sort of build these apparatus around you. And it's the same thing. It just is in a different wrapper.
Yep.
And so turns out God is jealous, and he wants to be our God and not allow us to worship ourselves.
Yeah.
Which is what you're really saying, I think, when you say don't climb the someone ladder.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, because given left to our own devices, we like to put ourselves first. And as Christians, we get really good at disguising that.
We live in a world that it feels like unless you're doing something, you don't matter, and you don't get your value from who you were created to be. It's what you do or what you contribute or what you offer. And
100%.
so it's really difficult to unclimb that as you're talking. And it is a daily thing because our natural
Yes.
sin nature is ego-based. And so we were like going, okay, well, what if I don't have anything that I do and I'm just being and I'm just, I mean, I think moms can get in that trap a lot, a stay-at-home mom especially, and I'm not a mom, but, raising your kids it's such a selfless thing to do.
Yes.
But I know that there's parents out there that feel like, well, unless I'm contributing, my husband's got a job, and so that's his identity, and I'm just here at home cleaning and taking care of my kids and stuff. What would you say to the mom out there that might be listening that's kind of going, I used to have a career or I used to whatever, and now I just feel kind of like I'm just raising my kids. And
Right.
even though we know that there's value to that, there's still this voice in our head that's going, yeah, but what are you doing? I mean,
Completely. No, I would look at that mom and say, you're not alone. And I remember being there. And I think it's a perspective shift. I think it's when you look at the days, I remember looking at the days when the boys were little, feeling like, gosh, I can't wait till ... when they do this or when and so it almost was like I was trying to fast forward those very minute, mundane moments. And now I'm really trying to just be present and say, like, how can I go instead of I'm getting through the day, but how can I learn from who you are? How can I turn this into I'm being taught just as much as I'm the one that's raising.
Right.
So
I think that's such a great distinction. There's so much looking back now that I could have learned more if I would have been more present. But I was so looking to, I raised my girls on my own for 8 years as a single dad. And, and so I think I missed a lot of the joy of, because I was so like benchmark oriented or, like what's next and that kind of thing. So I think you're right. And just being present was something that I didn't do a great job of.
Especially if you're a planner, and kind of futuristic or a dreamer, we're always tending to look into that, when this happens.
Right.
But I know the moments where I'm like, can pause and be fully present.
Yeah.
I'm actually like connecting and I'm eye to eye with my kids instead of what was that? And
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm listening to you, Bekah, and one of the things that I think would resonate with a lot of our listeners is the pace of our culture is very demanding.
Yeah.
It's to the point where it's become normal. And I think people feel less valuable if they're not busy.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. So that is almost an addiction in itself. This need to be really needed, for lack of a better descriptor. Like I'm needed, so I have value, and so we allow ourselves to be overscheduled, overbooked, maybe subconsciously even, just as a way of validating ourselves.
Sure.
Have you come across that? Is that something you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I'm a recovering busy soul, I think that I didn't know any different until I think I started kind of having those moments where I thought I'm going through the day, but I'm not remembering moments because I'm just rushing through. So that's when I think we did a big step back and kind of evaluated what is important and then how do we intentionally live that way, because nobody's going to protect our time for us, So I think that's where my husband and I really have said, like, simple is beautiful in a world where rush is more acceptable. I've had friends who are like, it must be really nice to just like be like kind of lazy. And I'm like, oh no, we're not being lazy. Like we're intentionally like stilling ourselves enough to
creating space.
We're creating space.
Yeah.
And we're being still. And those are the moments that our kids are going to remember. It's not, you're getting in the car and we got to rush to this. And not that that's bad.
No, I get it.
But for us, we feel like we're actually more available and it frees us up to be more present and listen.
Yeah.
So I think it's almost paying attention a lot to, is this bringing joy? Is this actually bringing life to our family, or is this sapping the life? And so I think when we started asking ourselves those questions, it kind of helped pull away the fluff.
That's good. I want to know a little bit about this, because I was saying just before we started recording that Brad needs to really dig into this, praying your way to forgiveness. inspiring prayers for a woman's heart. I mean, Brad's heart could be Brad's heart. What I think it's such an interesting idea. What led to the writing of this, Praying Your Way to Forgiveness?
So this was a really cool story. After my publisher actually approached me and asked if I would write 200 prayers toward forgiveness. And I was like, no. I would like to write about trust or faith. That feels a lot less messy. And it challenged me every day to write even more of how do I then understand the posture of what forgiveness is? How do I start to forgive myself before then I can extend forgiveness to other people? So it's very practical every day, like, how do I forgive myself when I want to like lose it on my kids? Or how do I forgive myself? Or how do I even understand a father who forgives when I'm not at that space yet, you know? So there's just these little nuggets. It was really healing for me to write, and I hope it.
What was it that that resisted? What do you think it is that, if you look back now, that resisted you wanting to actually write this? Like,
that's a great question. I don't think forgiveness is ever like fully accomplished. So I think that I felt maybe like not the expert on forgiveness, because I'm still very much in progress of, there's people in my life that I have to forgive, and then I have to forgive them like maybe an hour later, and then maybe 2 days, you know? So I think even just finding grace as I was writing and realizing it's not a one and done thing. It's maybe more of a journey toward forgiveness. I think it offered compassion for myself and then for others of that we have a God who forgives, but it's, you know, we don't have to have that same expectation that forgiveness or forgiveness doesn't always necessarily mean now we're going to be best friends. Right. You know, so finding boundaries, those beautiful boundaries. I forgive you, but I don't have to let you into this. I get it. So
I love it. Well, I'm looking forward to Brad reading that.
Well, you know, I do need help with forgiveness because my co-host is...
We can talk about that.
He needs help.
Yeah.
This
is a forgiveness moment.
So, Robert, you might want to read the Choosing Real versus the fantasy world that you live in.
Yeah. I'm all about it.
You know, in all seriousness, as I'm thinking about the struggles, right, that our culture really puts on moms, so that's an external struggle, like just the pace of life, the need to be busy, to be important.
Yeah.
And then there's that internal battle, which is the forgiveness issues and the idea of like, where does my identity come from? And the performing and sort of checking the boxes part of life where we lose the moment because we're just always looking at the goal.
Right.
So as you're sort of describing that, I'm sure there are a lot of listeners who can say, oh, that might be me. I might be ready to admit that I need some help. What do you do to help moms through that process? What kind of ministry do you personally help with besides writing books?
Right. So my huge heartbeat is I started Pasture Experience. It's based on Psalm 23, and it really is offering that listening space. And I think what I love leading women through is just that really practical, tangible, where is there time in your day that you can go and close your eyes and imagine God's face shining upon you? And who does he say you are, regardless of what you do, who people are telling you are, how your kids are responding to you. Those consolation moments of hearing our worth from him first. I think that when we live from that space, it's out of overflow instead of looking for it from external ways. So I love to lead women into that confidence of learning how to hear his voice first and then living from that space.
You know, I think as a Christian, one of the greatest challenges, whether you're a parent or not, is trusting the voice that you believe is God's.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of voices in our head.
I think you're so right. Like, unless you can carve out space for that stillness, it's hard to hear that voice because there are so many competing and they all sound similar. But there's something about the idea of getting still that can clarify the voice that you need to listen to and give some space for that to happen. So I love that idea, the pasture experience.
Pasture experience.
I love
it's
that.
Inspired by Psalm 23.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, and I think as moms too, we think, oh gosh, I have to have a whole day, or I need to get away for something. And it's like, no, there's moments like in the shower or when we're driving that we can turn off the radio. And the more we do it, then the more confident we become in listening to the stillness.
Right.
So I think it's a learned.
It's a discipline.
behavior. It's a spiritual discipline.
Yeah, it is. Robert, I have a sense that we could go a while.
Yeah.
Talking through some of these things that are out there. In closing, what would you say the highs and lows of your parenting life have been so far?
Oh, wow. I would say the highs right now are where our boys are. They're 11 and 8, and they are they're amazing. And I feel like I'm learning from them every day. I mean, even last night I was laying with Tanner, our oldest, and I was scratching his back, and I said, I just apologized because I realized yesterday I was so anxious and I wasn't present. And so I was with them, but I wasn't with them. And I said, what do you need right now, bud? And he said, I need some more attention. Like, I need some more like one-on-one time. And I love that he's at a space where we can have those conversations. Right. I think the earlier years were harder because I longed for that connection, and it was more of the get the snack, do the thing, change your, it's more of that. And so every stage I feel like I'm trying to say, like, I just want to soak up this moment and be present to it and give myself grace and give them grace. Yeah. I'm learning to say I'm sorry a lot more, where before I was like, nope, Mama said it, it's fine. And I'm like, Mama doesn't know. We're all learning.
That's great. I completely agree. Before we wrap up, we need to talk about your podcast. You do podcasting too. Talk to us a little bit about what you do on your podcast.
Sure. Well, I recorded my first season here in the Bema Media, which was such a gift. But my podcast really is about those moments of turning, again, that talking and that listening upside down. So I invite people into topics like solitude and stillness and humility and unclimbing, and really give them a chance to simmer and listen to that for the first week. And then the following week, I have a guest conversation, a soul-nourishing conversation about that. That's awesome. Yeah.
I like the way she talks. Soul-nourishing.
Yeah.
It's
so needed. I mean, in our culture, we're so speed-oriented, that we need to push pause and take some time.
Well, we've had the pleasure to spend a half an hour here with Bekah Pogue. And
your podcast is Bekah Pogue Podcast, right?
No, it's Pasture Experience. Yes, so it's inspired by the retreats that I do.
So we will have all of her links on our website, brilliantlybraveparenting.com. We'll have links to her books and to you for people to get a hold of you if they want to come to a retreat or to find out more about your ministry. We are very grateful to have you in the studio today.
Thank you for having me.
I have one final comment, and that is that I think wildflowers are important to you.
Oh, gosh. You're speaking my love language right now.
It's in a lot of the language in your book, and there's just a lot of mention of wildflowers. So in closing, this is it. This is your last thought. Tell us about the wildflowers. Why are they so important?
I don't know. They stir my soul. I see them and I go off-road picking. I mean, I have wildflower garden in our backyard, and I make wildflower prayers with my typewriter. So that's just one of my creative outlets, is pressing wildflowers and offering truth and having a little creative outlet for people.
I love that.
Wow. So in Maine, there's a wildflower called lupin. Or lupine. Depending on how you say it, lupine or lupin. Mm-hmm. Okay. It's this big purple flower. Mm-hmm. It's about this tall, maybe 12, 14-inch cone of flower. And it's bright purple in there in the spring. And it makes Maine beautiful. So you have to come and see.
I would love to.
Well, it's our pleasure to be there with Bekah Pogue here in the studio. Robert, any last thoughts?
No, I'm just admiring you, Brad.
Soaking it all up.
I'm just soaking up your glory, Brad.
My glory.
This has been great having you. Thank you so much for sharing. I love what you're doing. I think it's so important, and encourage any of our listeners to check out the resources. The links will be in the bio part. But thank you for spending time with us today.
Oh, thank you for having me. You guys are fun.
Bye-bye.
Brad, you know I'm a foodie, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I want to tell you about this awesome coffee experience. It's called CJ's Coffee Culture and Community. It is a faith-run coffee culture. And the thing that's really cool about this is that they roast their own beans, they have delicious coffees, and they have 2 brick and mortar, so 2 coffee bars, as well as a virtual location at cjscoffeecafe.com. Here's the cool thing. They ship their beans, they ship their coffee anywhere in the world, so you don't just have to be in Texas to enjoy it. CJ's Coffee Culture and Community.
Awesome. Well, Robert, that was a jolt of energy.
She's awesome. Effervescent is the right word.
It is.
But you can tell that there's a difference between hypey effervescence and then effervescence from like a place of like knowing who you are. And I get the sense that she's in a lot of soul care and examining like what's important, who she is, her identity, and it bubbles over from her. I mean, she's a real delight is the right word, I think.
I agree. I was encouraged to think about the fact that there are groups of women, moms, who are getting together to slow down. Because a lot of retreats are kind of hypey.
Right.
You know, they're kind of rah-rah.
Let's figure out how much we can learn in this compressed amount of time.
And in the Christian culture, sometimes, we celebrate enthusiasm more than we should. Like, if you're not enthusiastic about your faith, then you're not a good Christian or something.
Right.
And sometimes there are moments in life when it's just hard.
Yeah.
You're just fried, and you need to recharge deeply, not superficially.
Yeah.
And so as she was talking, I was thinking there are moms out there right now who are listening who are like, I think I need more than a latte. I need something deeper than that.
Right.
And I feel like this could really be a help to a lot of moms.
I think it can. Yeah, I was inspired, and she speaks from experience, not just academic or just. I think this is you can tell that this is something that's really authentic with her. So I would encourage anyone listening out there, any mom that feels overwhelmed and feels like there's just so many things going on. Check out her stuff. I think you'll find some refreshment from it and wisdom.
I agree, and as we were talking about the different things that sort of make her tick, and this need to be in the moment, this need to slow down enough to enjoy each day as a parent, as a mom, to recognize that that's valuable, and to not allow our culture to sort of dictate the pace of our life.
Right.
And those are great things to say, but they're hard.
Really hard. It is a discipline.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to feel. I mean, it's like anything else. You've just repetitive. You've got to keep doing it. It gets easier, but I don't know that like in this side of glory we're ever going to be at the place where we just automatically are drawn to that and it just becomes a natural thing. It takes work to kind of. It's like breaking gravity. I mean, you're just having to discipline yourself to make that a priority. So. Yeah.
So for moms who need to break, who need to slow down for more than just the sort of routine of life, and they need a new moment with Christ, they need a new moment of refreshment, go check out BekahPogue.com. That's spelled BekahPogue.com.
And we'll see you here again next week. We really do consider it an honor to spend time with you. And if you think about it, give us a nice comment in whatever platform you're using. It means a great deal to us, and we appreciate you carving out some time to spend with us today. We'll see you here again next week.
Absolutely. Thank you. God bless, and we'll see you soon.
Be encouraged, parents. You are not alone. In Paul's letter to his son in the faith, Timothy, he writes, "But I am not ashamed, for I know whom I have believed, and I am convinced that he is able to guard until that day what has been entrusted to me." Brilliantly Brave Parenting wants to be an encouragement and support that parents can rely on. Would you consider liking us and sharing us with a friend? As a part of the Tween Gospel Alliance, we are a nonprofit organization dependent on the support of friends like you. Thanks for stopping by. We'll be right here next week.
Hey, Robert, we've got some new stuff in the web store.
Tell me about it, Brad.
It's our very own swag.
Really?
Absolutely. Brilliantly Brave now has its own line of caps, cups,
T-shirts?
clothing. Yeah, everything, man. We got swag.
Dog sweaters?
I don't know about the dog sweaters yet, but we can work on it.
Okay.
So if you're a fan and you've been listening to Brilliantly Brave and you want to share it with your friends, let them know that you're a supporter, hey, come to our website, ishinelive.com, and find out more. We are excited to announce the Storms of Life study, Living Beyond Stressed Out and Overwhelmed.
It's a great subtitle. Living Beyond Stressed Out and Overwhelmed.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, we know that students are stressed. And for parents and pastors, it's important to know what are the top 3 things that are really on the minds of our kids.
So, Brad, walk us through what they can expect from the Storms of Life.
This is an 8-week study. It has video insights. It has presentations from an actual youth retreat with junior high and high school students. These kids are going to learn about how their faith can help them fight back the stress that they're living with every day at school.
Check it out on ishinelive.com.